So, hi, good day, all. Again, this is Marcus once again with another episode where we talk about Trinidad and Tobago football. And today I have with me Mr. Andy Salandy. Um, I'll just ask Andy to introduce himself, who he is, and then we will take the conversation from there. So go ahead, Andy.
Okay, Marcus. Well, first of all, a pleasure to be on your show. Thanks for having me as an interviewee. Again, the name is Andy Salandy, and that is the real name. When I came to the US, a lot of folks renamed me Andrew because Andy is short for Andrew
Yeah.
something else, but literally that's the name. So, I'm a footballer to heart. Grew up in Trinidad and Tobago, Tacarigua to be exact.
Okay.
Grew up playing football from since I could remember myself. Going to primary school and playing and missing lunch break because we still playing when the bell ring. Always playing. Um,
Right.
I went to Queen Gerald College and I would get to school early so that again we can play or sweat as we call it. So
Right.
when the bell
Right.
rang at 8:05, my shirt was already wet. You know what I mean? In Form One, so
Right.
it's been part of my DNA. And
Mm-hmm.
after Queen Gerald College, I played under 14, I played under 16, I played first 11.
Yeah.
I think my more prominent intercal era is when I went to the iconic Green Machine. I repeated fifth form in St. Augustine.
Right.
Then I went to lower six, upper six, and honestly, 83 to 85. If you check the records, it's probably three of the winningest eras of college football history in Trinidad and Tobago. I was blessed with being on a team with some incredible teammates and yeah, just lifelong friends at this point in my life. Then
Right.
I was fortunate enough to be given a full scholarship to Appalachian State University. I'm
Right.
always going to give a shout out to Mr. Michael Grayson, who afforded me
Yes.
this opportunity. He was our club coach at Tacarigua United,
Mm-hmm.
presented me with that offer, and yeah, I transitioned into the US, and I've been here since then, since '87. And as we go along, I could talk a little more about that whole college experience and the things that I achieved. But yeah, that's in a nutshell, that's Andy Salandy. He's a footballer throughout my life. I'm an educator as well, based on my degrees. I'm a
Right.
coach as well. I coached for a long time. So
Mm-hmm.
that's me in a nutshell.
Well, I know there was one more thing that I guess when you do mention it, who's your dad, then probably that would kind of tie people into understanding a little bit more because again, the name Andy Salandi may not really bring out or highlight who your dad is.
Yeah, so my dad is the iconic Eddie Hart, who has this minor league that basically everyone who in Trinidad football has played in over the last 58 years. The league started the year I was born in 1966,
Right.
August of 66, and it's everyone knows my father's name and the league because of their participation in that league, which really served as a foundational development league for Trinidad football when you think about it, because
Okay.
we didn't have a structured national youth system for player development. So that league, I think a lot of people developed there from under 14, under 16, under 19, and you have an adult side. So yeah, that's my dad. He's well known, as you just said, compared to
Yeah.
Andy Salandy, but yeah, yeah. But Andy
Right.
Salandy is well known in the US. Don't worry.
Right. 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 Right.
You know, it's your
So
family.
so I asked a question recently, and with that question, I got a lot of answers from people, I guess, who we would call fans, um, giving one opinion generally. I know that you have a different view, and that's why I really wanted to start our conversation here. So let me just ask the question again so that everybody would be aware. The question is, should boys playing US college football get selected for Trinidad and Tobago men's national team? So
Yes.
before you start, a lot of people saying that they should not and that the level there is a bit low. But again, that is just I guess us from the outside looking in, you having been in it, I would genuinely like to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, well, you see, for me, it's unequivocally yes, Marcus, because being selected for the national team should be based on your ability, period.
Right.
And
Hmm.
a lot of those folks who say no, we have so many guys from Trinidad and Tobago who played for our national team straight out of Trinidad high school system, right? Straight out of
Right.
playing
Yeah.
intercol, and they were,
Hmm.
household names in on their high school teams. They got selected to play on our national senior team. So if that was acceptable and everybody was good with that, because some of these folks have gone on to become iconic names in Trinidad and Tobago football, why is
Yeah.
there a no when you've matriculated to even higher level to be selected for national team? What people need to understand with football, especially with Trinidad and Tobago football, is people decides on their pathway, but it doesn't negate
Right.
the ability. Meaning, you have some footballers that are very good academically, and our culture has always stressed education first, period.
Right.
All of us
Okay.
got that foundation about, hey, study your books. But I, growing
Yeah.
up with a single mom, we used to have battles because she used to tell me you cannot eat the football. But even though I was always doing my work academically, I saw this
Right.
as an outlet. I saw this as an opportunity. I felt like I had this gift, but more importantly, I had an opportunity to do something with this game, helping me do something. So coming
Right.
to college doesn't change your ability. And
Hmm.
I think that's been the problem with Trinidad and Tobago football is once you leave Trinidad and you go to university in the US, somehow you're no longer eligible for selection. And the amount of talent that got lost there, not being
Hmm.
selected while they're in college, I think has been part of the problem with the selection process for Trinidad football.
Yeah, because I was thinking about it again only recently, and that is somebody asked me the question, and it really had me thinking. Usually, when you go across a college, you're probably 19, 18, 19,
Mhm,
and you
mhm.
spend 4 to 5 years there. So that is, let's just say 19 to 24, which is prime for a footballer. And if we not picking them, then I think our pool is not that big to really be leaving players out.
Yeah, but the other biggest misconception about US soccer,
Hmm.
specifically university or college soccer, is that it's at a low level. And nothing can be further from the truth. If you come and watch, look, some of these professional teams, MLS teams, play
Hmm.
college teams in the springtime with exhibition games. Yes, they usually the reserve team to play the college team. But
Right.
you have these guys from the top college teams getting drafted and going directly into the MLS and having an impact year after year. So to me, there's a blinding paradigm with folks from our island who don't understand the US university college system and how hard it is, and more importantly, how internationally dominant that league is because folks from all over the world
Hmm.
just like us who got that foundation and they could go pro maybe, but they were taught they were told education you could always have something to fall back on, came to the US and they're
Right.
from every country around the world playing in university. So it's an international league. It's not a simple, oh, I tell you, I think I was just mesmerized by the level back in 87 when I came.
Hmm.
That's 1987. We in 2025.
Right.
US soccer has advanced and it was always high level because it was always internationally based when it comes to the college system. It was not
Okay.
pure Americans. The pure Americans that were conditioned and growing up was playing basketball, baseball, football. So who was actually dominating college soccer were internationals from Europe, from Africa, from the Caribbean, from South America. Come on, Marcus. It doesn't get any bigger than that. It's been a very high level competitive system and professional.
Okay.
Think
Okay.
about it. When you get a scholarship, they are paying for your education. You are a professional, right?
Hmm.
Yes, you're in
Yeah.
college, but you're a professional. You're being paid to play. You're being
Right.
paid to go to school. So Why should these folks not be selected, especially when the development is going to be higher than when you were in high school in Trinidad, or even some of these so-called leagues we have home that, arguably is not as professional as the university system here. Okay.
Right, right, right. Okay, okay, that's a fair point. Um, yeah, I didn't think about that. They're bringing you across and they're literally paying for all your stuff for you to play football. So I guess in a sense that is a level of professionalism, right? They're covering your cost. Yeah.
Yeah, but Marcus, can I say this? Are you aware
Mm.
of what they call the NIL right now? Name, image, and likeness. There's a revolution going on in the US called NIL,
No, I'm not.
where
No.
university students, college students are now getting endorsement deals in university.
Okay.
To further highlight the point that they're professionals, for a long time they were monetizing these student athletes and making millions and billions of dollars. The NCAA and the universities were making a lot of money on these student athletes because they are professional. Like I said, they have a fan base, they have followers. So now they've passed the law where you don't have to leave college no more to get an endorsement deal. So it's opened up this new era where once you're in university, you
Hmm.
have kids now that are that are millionaires. They get in Nike deals, they get in Mercedes deals. You name the brand, they're endorsing these brands and making
Right.
millions of dollars while still in college. So some of these kids aren't even gonna worry about pro anymore because,
Yeah.
like I said, they're already literally a pro.
Hmm.
The
Okay.
only piece that was missing was that endorsement money, and now it's there.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting. Well, definitely there's a different perspective, and I know that we would have people in the comments talking about it. So I definitely like to see or hear their thoughts on that.
Marcus, I
Because
want to ask one more thing. Why
yeah.
no? What does it hurt? Let me ask you this. For those who unequivocally say no, what does it hurt? How does it hurt us who have a limited pool to select from to begin with to not open up to the college players? How does it help us? For those who say no, they shouldn't be involved in the national selection. What's the
Mm,
reason?
true.
No, I'm
Yeah, I
asking.
guess.
I'm asking. They're saying no. So what's the logic? What's the reason? It's
Right,
gonna hurt
right.
Trinidad football because they're not at the level. What level are we at? Look at we are the lowest level we could ever be at this point in life. So you can't lose
Yeah,
twice, right?
true,
What
true,
do
true,
you have
true.
to lose? This is part of why we have the problem that we have. You have a lot of ignorance talking, folks who've never played in this system, telling you what level the system is at. You know,
Mm,
doesn't make
yeah.
any sense.
Okay, 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 okay. Again, good point. So I'll wait to see what the comments look like because that's definitely a thought-provoking question. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Um, so I want to take it a little bit away from that now. And I know that you have your own company and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that you are heavily involved in football, or I guess what they call soccer up here. You want to talk a little bit about your company and how we could actually use what your company offers to help Trinidad and Tobago footballers?
Thank you, Marcus, for asking that question. So I'll start with the name. The name, as they probably can see with my name here, is TIDI Nation, and we
Right,
pronounce it TiDi Nation. And that TI stands for Think It, DI Do It. It's a
right,
very proactive mentality about living into purpose. Too many of us sometimes in life have a great idea, but fearful of how it's going to play out, and we don't even take any action.
right.
And so you have so much brilliance people have taken to their grave because they didn't execute the doing part, right? The faith
Right. Yeah.
part. So spiritually, this company, I think it do it is hope and faith. And what we have, Marcus, is an ecosystem of resources for sports and entertainment. Our motto is turning dreams into scholarships, contracts, and careers. So again, the first avenue is once you step into TiDi Nation on a player development pathway, we could get you to a university. That's what we do. That's my life.
Right.
So you can't teach what you don't know. I went to university on a full ride. I've coached and developed a lot of players, and the network around me. I've done the same to help players navigate and get to university. That's number one. That is the bigger net than the professional. Let's be honest, but education could change your life. So TiDi Nation could give you that opportunity once you're within the nation, once you're within the network to be seen, scouted,
Right.
and get a scholarship. That's one. We have a sports management agency, TiDi Sports Management, running for over 25 years now in operation, pretty much, right? We
Okay.
have
Okay.
represented so many players from Trinidad and Tobago over the years who are now coaching, who played, the tenure in professional football. And we still have clients that we handpick now because there's so much going on within TiDi Nation. We are
Yes.
selective and very selective about who we pick to represent the Go Pro. Not who wants us, it's who we decide, because there are too many verticals. We have our own sports apparel, right? This is our brand. This is the
Right.
logo, right?
Right.
It's an infinity symbol, Marcus, which means there's no limit to what we can achieve or can do.
Right.
There's
Right.
no beginning, there's no end. I mean, this have so much symbolism in this symbol, as folks know who study the
Yeah.
infinity symbol, and on it is think it, do it. So
Hmm.
can we help Trinidad and Tobago football? 100%. We are probably the biggest scouting network with my network of former players and coaches and
Right.
colleagues, I mean, around the US and Europe. And the sad thing is, folks in Trinidad know about me and my agency,
Right.
yet they've not come, even though I've extended my hands so many times to them, currently
Right.
doing right now. And yet there's been no direct involvement with my agency in helping find the talent that we are supposedly looking for to build the best national team possible.
Hmm. So yeah, I was really going to take the conversation in that direction. If you are so big and 25 years in this business, why haven't we heard? And again, you being Eddie Hart's son, that everybody knows Eddie Hart ground, everybody knows about Eddie Hart. How come we haven't heard about Tie-Dye Nation being a part of the whole scouting, the whole developing players? What is going on in that space?
Marcus, if I really have the answer to that, then we can shut down this interview, go Vegas, play the lottery, and win. I have no idea. That's the question that has baffled me for a long time, because all I've always offered to do is help. Right now,
Right.
I do have a very no nonsense personality.
Hmm.
I don't take a lot of nonsense. I don't stand for a lot of nonsense, and I'm a direct shooter. So maybe part of the reason why, Marcus, is that personality. They may use that to say, well, if Andy involved, it could be. I don't know. I have no idea what it is, but all I know
Right.
is there are folks in the federation right now.
Hmm.
There are folks in the technical directing of Trinidad football. There are folks in the coaching fraternity that all know who I am. A lot of these folks I grew up with, right? So it's not like, yeah, my name may not be this household name to Trinidad and Tobago football, especially this young generation. I left since 87. Most of them wasn't even born yet. However,
Right.
however, my peers, my colleagues, and everyone else who went to high school with me from Form 1 to Form 5 and
Right.
repeating to Upper 6 to, the folks out here who all played college as a fraternity, right? We all know who went to university. I have players who played on my high school team who are coaching all over. So, in terms of us mobilizing the network to say, hey, let's go ahead and each one of us, we have players in every state, but we are all over. Let's create this scouting network and
Yeah.
make recommendations to help our country. That is what I can do. That is what I've done.
Hmm.
But in terms of why, um, that's a great question, my brother. Maybe the fact that I am the great Eddie Hart's son could have something to do with it as well. I need to call him and ask him. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't
Right.
know.
Right.
Seriously, don't know, Marcus, and it's been frustrating,
Yeah.
disappointing, because watching Trinidad football national team play is an embarrassment to our culture, to our people, to our ability. It's become very, very sad and hurtful to watch. When we were like feared in college, we were like worshipped as players, right? So
Right.
now the
Right.
narrative is flipping, where they're looking at our national team, and that's becoming a representation of our ability, and To me, that's a far cry from our true ability. So it's disappointing to say the least.
That is, again, as a fan, hearing that, that is sad. That is literally sad to hear that we have an avenue and we choose, because that's what it sounds like, we choose just not to get involved with you and your company. Um,
Marcus, I want to say one more thing.
yeah,
I've looked at some of your interviews and you're doing a fantastic job. I got to give you kudos for being someone who don't just want to have a conversation for having a conversation's sake. You don't just want to bash nobody. You're looking for solutions here with this blog and this channel that you've created, which are kudos to you because we
empty.
have a society that is easy to just dwell on the negative, right? As
True.
opposed to what are the solutions.
Yeah,
But I heard someone recently on your show talking about, the problem with our federation is when the new sheriffs come in town, they throw everything out, they throw the baby out with the bathwater out, and they start over from scratch.
yeah,
But they were guilty of doing the same thing. So we all like to talk, right? Especially when we get on a medium like this, we all say
right.
the right things. But the
Yeah,
reality is actions truly speaks louder than words. And I don't know if it's a power tripping thing once you become the president of the TTFA and you're in control of football that you have to do it your way. But we have no continuity whenever there's a change in federation. But that's probably same could be said for the government itself. Because I think
true.
folks are reacting to what's going on with the new administration right now and
Yeah,
same old in terms of implementing their new system, firing people. So I don't know. I don't know, but it doesn't help. It doesn't help every time when you have to restart something that you could
correct.
continue to build from and have a good foundation to build on.
Correct, correct, correct. And I was thinking about an analogy yesterday, actually. And
Mm.
you would see, like in racing, when they at the pit stop, they do a quick changeover and continue. And I'm thinking Trinidad and Tobago, we look like we just once we reach our pit stop, we want to start. We want to change the tires and go back to the start when everybody else already racing ahead. And that's what it
That's a
actually
great
seems like.
analogy, but in the pit stop in a race, they usually just change the tires. We want to change. We want to go in the engine and try to figure out if we need a V8 now or the V6. You know what I mean? We in the
Right.
engine. The race continue now. We going back into the engine, trying to
Yeah.
rebuild something beyond just changing the tires. So that's a fantastic analogy, and that I think is what has hurt our system because
Yeah.
you gotta have a foundation to build anything sustainable, right? And you have to have a consistent methodology. If I could jump in, because I've been coaching for so long, Marcus,
Yeah.
I was also a college professor for over 25 years. I was the life science department chair. Um, it hit
Okay.
me one day that teaching is coaching, coaching is teaching, and there's so many similarities in terms of the
Yeah.
ability to communicate effectively. But the issue I see with football, and especially national teams, and especially the changeover in whether it's the federation that rebuilding because of what we just said, or coaches coming in, coach get fired, new coach come in, is what formation and system of play are we following as a methodology for the federation? So
Right.
are the
Right.
U12s all playing 4-3-3 and everybody all the way to the senior team is in that system? Or are they all playing 4-4-2? Or are they all playing 3-5-2? Doesn't matter, but shouldn't we have the same system? First of all, formation. Formation and systems are two different things, Marcus. A
Right. Okay.
formation is 4-3-3. A system is how you employ playing that 4-3-3. But let's just say, for argument's sake, we're looking at the 4-3-3. Everybody wants to look at Man City and Barca and whoever else, the biggest clubs in the world that's playing this formation,
Right.
right? And we want to implement that as our system. Well, how do we get consistency on a national level if each level playing their own formation/system?
True. True.
How?
True.
How? That's called chaos. That's part of the problem. The coaches are all playing a style that they like based on some Premier League team that they like, regardless of personal and ability. And then there's confusion in how you want to play that system as well. I could be playing 4-3-3 formation, you could be playing it, but the way we employ the system to play
Yeah.
that could be different. So if that's already a problem, why are we not even starting with the same formation and being consistent to drill that so that
Yeah.
by the time you go from U12 to U16 to U18, you have mastery of this system and formation.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And we have an identity in terms of our country as to how we want to play. That's a big problem. That's like, to me, apart from the selection and the pool and this and that, that in itself, we don't have the unity and the consistency in terms of system and
Mm-hmm.
formation. And I think that hurts us because you can't tell a player just come in and play something and they're not on the same page. You know, the
True.
coaches on the same page, the players are on the same page. And we see that because you have a small window as a national coach. I
Yeah.
heard
Yeah.
coach
Yeah. Yeah.
talking about just 10, 12 days, whatever the window before Curacao game. So when you can't bring anybody in new then because first of all, 10 days. But even with those that exist that was playing in their clubs and they come in,
Mm-hmm.
are we on the same page? Are we on the same sheet of music? Because we have that formation mastered and roles and responsibility within that formation mastered. So it interchangeable with the players that fit that formation slash
Yeah.
system.
So yeah, you touch on a very good point because he himself, Coach York, keeps saying that we bring in new players and the game is September the 5th. So, what do these new players know about our identity? And rightfully so, do we actually have an identity that they could fall into? Or we just expect
But
these?
you tell me, I've been watching every single game. Do you see the same formation in every game so far?
No,
No, no.
no,
The minute we play in a superior opponent, we want to play with five in the back. We so fearful, we already set up in a formation indicating the fear factor in who we are because we
right.
go with five in the back, which means that we're negating our ability to attack for sure. So now we're on the defensive from the formation
Yeah,
and the mentality tied to that formation to execute and play.
mm,
And then how well are we going to play it when you've been playing 4-3-3, right?
right.
4-2-3-1. Basically, the most of the times there was a 4-2-3-1,
Hmm.
right? A 4-2-3-1, which
Yeah,
essentially is a 4-5-1, right? Depending on how the two are in the front of the defensive back four are
yeah,
playing with the three ahead of them, right? So that's five in the middle essentially, and one up front, usually against two or three center backs. So
yeah,
now we don't have an attacking system with five in the back. And then why are we going to that? Why we trust that this is where we've been playing and we going after it and we getting better and better, especially in the games that are just preparation for what getting ready to happen now
yeah,
in the
yeah.
final rounds. This is when it really counts, right? So we need to be on the same page.
You use a word, trust. Maybe maybe they just don't even trust the players because, but then again, that is what we allow. So we at this point now. Um, is there any players that you see currently that you think, well, I guess in your scouting, which would probably be more in the US, that could help the national team right now? And are you bringing them forward?
100%. I'll start with my son. His name is Shaquille Salandy. He goes by AJ.
Right.
Incredible defender. Can play anywhere across the back. I watch the defense. I watch our national team defensively. We are lacking. I will use that word. I want to
Yeah, 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 yeah.
lacking, right? So
Right.
I have the two Dillian brothers, Shane and Curtis, who are incredible in the midfield. Can play
Right.
again anywhere across the middle, especially on the wings with their ability to just break down defenders and get behind defenders and serve the ball. I heard about a young goalkeeper who right now is has the most shutouts in the Jamaican Premier League. I didn't get the name, but I've been hearing about him.
Right. So that's Aaron Enel.
Right.
That's
In
yeah.
Jamaica Premier League. I don't know why
Yeah.
he wouldn't be in the pool when a starting goalkeeper had retired and at the age where it's typically where most people are finished with the game. And some goalkeepers, world class goalkeepers, do go into their late 30s and 40s, right? You have a few examples in Europe that have done that, but still, if we have young, talented goalkeepers as well, why are they not in the mix?
Right.
I have another client in Sweden that's been in the system, Christian Lehem, which I know again can do a job. As a matter of fact, he is now playing centre back for his club in Sweden and doing a fantastic job. And there's a huge need in our national team in that space. So and I could go on and on, but those are just four names that are all tied to our agency and my network that
Okay.
I know can
Mm-hmm.
help Trinidad football, and I've presented them to the powers that be, so they're not they know about them. Why they're
Right.
not
Okay.
being called in? Uh, Go back to the question as to why they're not involved in Andy Salandy and his
Right.
agency in being a part of helping scout and present players to our national teams at all levels.
Okay. So I mean, I know you kind of said it, but just to drive home the point, if given the opportunity to be a part of the national team setup right now, whether it be president, whether it be coach, whether it be any aspect, would you put yourself forward to be in that in some capacity, some role?
Very good question. Again, unequivocally, yes. It's funny. And I'm doing my best, even though, I don't like to hold punches here. I'm not here to point fingers at anybody.
Right.
But my high school principal and I have had these conversations in the past. He's fully aware of my desire to impact Trinidad and Tobago football from
Right.
at one point even considering running for the presidency. There was a conversation about you have to have involvement in local football to be eligible. I do have academy home called FC Cardinals Academy out at Takarigo that my partner Shilton Thomas was running. I'm not sure fully active it is because it was really running on a Sunday only in the Etihad Savannah. But yeah, I've been
Okay.
involved. I've been involved in doing a lot of things still home locally, even though I'm living out here. And
Right.
that conversation about the presidency before the normalization committee came in and everything else, I had considered that, Marcus, at one point. And then I said, look, I'm not here for power, title, and recognition. I'm here to help. So
Right.
I
Right.
will drop back and just because I have the agency and I'm doing certain things with TiDi Nation, be willing to just provide players. And
Right.
I've done that. I've submitted uh, to frustration at this point because only one Christian Liam did get a call up when they
Hmm.
went into the Unity Cup. He
Right.
did get an opportunity then, but again, I think that was not a proper evaluation because nobody out there did anything of significance in those games. It was tough sledding for the entire team.
True.
I
True.
just know this young man's ability, composure, the level he's playing at, and what he can do.
Right.
And the others that I've talked about, I mean, I know them personally, developed them. People could look at their videos. My son has been playing pro development in the one of the biggest pro development league here in the US. It's called the United Premier Soccer League, UPSL. He's
Right.
playing in that league since he was 15. 15, he's 22. So he's been developed the way I believe development should be, where as a young boy with ability, you play with men. That's how I grew up in Trinidad, playing,
Mm.
with grown men. I always played up as a youth. And I think it helps
Yeah.
your development when you do that. And all three of these guys that I'm talking about, Shaquille Salandy, Shane Dillian, Curtis Dillian, uh, they have a real ability to impact and help Trinidad football. But that's a fact. Based on what I'm
Okay.
seeing,
Yeah.
watching the games. And Marcus, the last point I want to make is this. Going back to those who said no college player shouldn't be eligible. I will ask the question again. Your viewers can make their comments and say whatever. What do we have to lose if a player that's been recommended, willing
Hmm.
to spend their own money, right? You have the resume, they've played college, they play in pro, or they're just still in college, but it doesn't matter. We had that argument about his college pro. And if they pay their money and take all the risk to come
Hmm.
in and train with a squad that's looking for players to see if they're better. If they're not, what did the coaching staff really lose in that exercise?
True, true, true.
What did
Hmm.
they lose? Are we at a point where you think we have all the best players right now representing Trinidad when you watch the team play?
Absolutely not.
Right. So then what
Absolutely
do we
not.
lose? What do we lose with that exercise? That sometimes just baffles me
Yeah,
in world football where we can't afford to get it wrong. We don't have a pool like a US and some of these big nations that are continents, not countries that have millions to look at.
yeah,
So we need to find our nationals wherever they are
right.
and give them the chance. And that's all we say. And if they're
Yes,
better, great. And if they're not, you didn't lose anything.
that's true. That's true. Again, Andy, thanks very much for this conversation. And I know this was very eye-opening, very enlightening, and as always, it would give our viewers something to really think about because it's really about a mindset change and really understanding what we could do to improve where we are. Because we're sitting at 100 or 101 right now for the longest while, and clearly we have no intention of moving. So
Yeah,
I
Marcus,
really thank
before I
you.
leave too, I want to say
Yeah,
one more thing so that your
sure.
viewers do understand because I'm not known in Trinidad and Tobago circles, it looks like. So I would say what your viewers can do after they hear this conversation is Google the name. And
Mm,
what they will discover is that as a player who came here in the university, I'm now holding 4 records at the university. The most games played in the history of the program, the most minutes,
right,
the most starts, captain the university as an underclassman, a sophomore, which is doesn't happen. Usually, it's the leadership, seniors, and maybe a junior may captain a special player, but as a
right.
sophomore, captain the team. And I'm in the Hall of Fame. I say all that to say this. I know what I'm talking about. This is not someone who's a fan who never kick a lime, who didn't went on the field and
Right,
didn't play
right,
in
right.
college, making these comments to you. This is someone who's been in the foxhole, who's been in the trenches
Yeah,
for a long time, and also tied to a man who is a household name in Trinidad and Tobago football, who I developed under playing for his teams and rarely ever lost as a youth in the Etihad League because we always had a star-studded team called Upstart. So, it's just mind-boggling to me. And I'm not the only one. I have so many other partners that have these same sentiments who all played,
yeah,
who are all coaching, and who all want to contribute and not being given a chance or an air or a voice at all,
mm,
not being considered. That's what's going
yeah,
on. That's the reality. So when we sit back and try to figure out, well, what's wrong with Trinidad football? We've discussed a lot of it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
Marcus, I don't like to get on these programs. I'm doing this because you and I was introduced by a very good friend. And what you're about, like I say, is about a solution.
yeah, yeah.
But there's a lot of talk in media and social media and websites and nothing changing.
True.
Nothing is changing because the powers that be, the gatekeepers, have the agenda, and regardless of the conversation, they will call it noise. Oh, it's noise. We block out the noise, but it's not noise going on here. This is facts, and
Yeah,
it's really really disappointing is the word I use to close. That
right.
I don't have a say in helping our country elevate. And as my
Hmm.
wife said to me one day, don't worry, when you're coaching another nation and you go prove what you've been saying to others, maybe they will understand who you are. So,
Hmm.
yeah, that's what it
It's
boils down to.
unfortunate. Yeah, it's unfortunate that that's where we are. We think we're so big that we don't need the help from others. And again, is a whole football federation is a whole team. It's supposed to be a whole team. all the parts coming together. But
Yeah.
as you rightfully say, we had to figure out how to get all the parts to work together.
Yeah, well, I hope what you're doing here, because I saw you have some very notable guests coming on and you're getting your recognition as well with what you're doing, Marcus. Hopefully, it has a stronger voice than some of the others in the past that will impact and enact some changes for the better
Yeah,
for the country and for the people who wear it on our sleeve. I mean, we support this country no matter what. We are
yeah,
loving soca warriors. We love the country. We love it. We love it. We love it. And especially when we are out here, it doesn't mean that we went to Mars and we no longer love Trinidad and Tobago. Actually, we love it more because we're more homesick than ever. And we didn't leave because we wanted to. We leave because of lack of opportunity and maybe pursuing educational goals, etc., etc. So, this mentality sometimes that you guys are foreign based. Like if we leave and we enemies, it's just it's disheartening, man. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't understand it. I really don't understand it. Because how come all the others okay with that? How come the US could find players that are not even nationalize them and let them play for them, whether it's basketball, football, you name the sport, running. Hey, you're good? Become an American, run first, right? They find you and they already have a pool bigger than most people.
True, true, true.
So what I hope we'll start doing the same and just giving our nationals that are wherever they are a chance. If they're in high school and they get a chance, if they're in college and they get a chance, if they're in a non-league and they get a chance. Because last time I checked, Scottie Pippen was an equipment manager in his university before he last 2 years of picking up a basketball. And he's going to go down arguably as one of the 75 greatest ever. Dennis
Yeah,
Rodman was working in an airport after college and ended up a 5-time champion. So, Kurt Warner was outside of the league and ended up an NFL quarterback MVP. So sometimes lack of opportunity is where you are because of where you are, not because of lack of ability. And that
true.
needs to be factored in selections, in my opinion, instead of this
Yeah,
narrative about, oh, they're ineligible because they college, they're not at the level. It doesn't make any sense. Makes no
hmm,
sense.
yeah.
I'll end with that.
Okay, and thanks, thanks very much. And I know this was very insightful to me at least, and I know that the people listening on will definitely have stuff to take away from this. So I appreciate this. Thanks once again. I'm gonna end the recording now. You could stay on and we could talk a little bit more.
Thank you. Thank you, Marcus. Appreciate it.